Howdy folks, I'm Mighty Microscopium, magnificently magnifying mini microorganisms.
I'm Amber.
And here are more microorganisms for us to magnify because as you could guess, we are a microscope. And folks, also, if you hear a difference between the audio today and my speaking voice right now, it's not that I'm using AI or anything, it's just that I've recorded the video ahead of time on a different microphone. So if it sounds different or sounds bad, just let me know, and we'll see about changing it back.
Well, and only part of it's recorded, so we're recording this like normally. It's the stories, some of them that are recorded differently.
Yes, but let's get started.
Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Deleting My Son's YouTube Account with More Than 20,000 Subscribers for Skipping School? I am a father of 2 kids. One of them is my daughter, who's in college, and another is my son, who is in high school. I'm not as strict, but I was very suspicious of my children getting on social media. I'm not exactly young, and I thought that social media would be bad for them. But eventually, I gave in and I let them go to social media. My son eventually decided to get a YouTube account, and he created a channel. I wasn't very used to social media, so I didn't do any of the stuff like creating accounts to see what they were posting like many parents do. Around 5 or 6 months ago, my son ran into my room screaming and jumping and yelling about how he reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. By now, I was more used to the platforms and social media in general, and I congratulated him. If I'm going to be honest, I really didn't care that much, but he seemed really excited, and I didn't want to ruin that for him. Well, then around 3 months ago, a similar thing happened. He reached 10,000 subscribers. Once again, he ran around screaming in joy about the news. He seemed so happy and excited by this. I congratulated him and I let him do his own thing. Well, a month ago, he ended up reaching 20,000 subscribers, which was an amazing achievement to him. He was so happy and I actually felt kind of proud of him. This was very rare, so it was nice to hear that he was getting very popular in whatever community that he was posting in. Well, 2 days ago, the school told me that my son hadn't been at school for the past 3 days. Saying that he hasn't shown up to any of his classes, and they were curious as to why. I was extremely confused as to why, and it hit me that he was skipping entire school days doing who knows what. Well, when he got home from school, I confronted him about the call from school. He lied and said that he has been at school the whole time, and that this wasn't true. But I knew my son was lying. I told him to hand over his phone, and I kept it in my room. He got mad and stormed into his room. Slammed the door behind him. I have one major policy in my house, and that's don't slam doors in my face, especially when I'm mad. In frustration, I went onto his YouTube channel, since I have access to his YouTube channel, and I deleted the YouTube channel. I didn't tell him that this happened, and he didn't know since he didn't have his laptop with him, which is what he uses to make videos, and he had no way of knowing that I deleted it. Yesterday, I told him that I deleted his YouTube channel, and I don't think I've seen him angrier. He screamed at me, saying that I was the worst father ever, and that he hates me a ton. I feel a tiny bit guilty about this, but I've talked to him numerous times about not skipping school. So am I the jerk? Edit, it turns out that the phone call was sent as a prank from a few bullies at his school. I recently called the school, and they told me that they never called, and my son has been at school this whole time. So I checked the past call number, and it wasn't one of the school's phone numbers.
Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I think Opie's being the jerk here. This was not a punishment that fit the supposed crime. I also love how he just didn't even bother to confirm with the school and just assumed that it was true when his son was lying.
Well, it sounds like he threw a temper tantrum because the son slammed the door. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, well, I'm just going to delete his YouTube and show him and fix his wagon, right?
Right. Well, imagine being that poor kid. He's frustrated because he went to school and his dad refuses to believe him and keeps badgering about it. It's so yeah, he's gonna slams the door in frustration. That's the worst your kid does, and you're like, I'm gonna go delete his entire YouTube platform over this.
Well, and I can understand saying, look, you can't do YouTube for a week or a month or something like that. I'm gonna take away your access to that. Then that would be a little bit of a different situation, right?
Right, if he was skipping school so he could record YouTube videos, it would be fine to put, a limit on his devices so he can't film the YouTube videos for a time period.
Yeah.
That would be a time it would make sense, but there was absolutely no correlation there. It was just, I am angry, I want to lash out. I'm going to do something that I know will hurt you because you had the audacity to slam a door.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, this whole post kind of drips with almost contempt towards his child,
Mm-hmm.
where he doesn't seem to care about his YouTube channel or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. He's like, "Good job, kid. Now get out of my face here." It's like, I don't really care about it as long as you're not in my business, right? So I think it's actually because he hasn't seen any of the kids' videos or anything like that. That just seems like not great parenting, right? Like, how do you know what your kid is even putting out there online? Wouldn't you, as a parent, want to know what your kid was putting out online just so that you can kind of maybe not stop them depending on the content, right? But,
Right.
oh, sorry.
I was going to say, right, but make sure they're being safe and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are certain topics that maybe would be better not to put online.
And well, and personal
Yeah.
information, like kids don't always know what you do and don't share on the internet. And so, from a safety standpoint, it is important to have some idea of what your kids are posting.
Yeah. But I overall think that OP here is just not being very good to their child. It seems like they just don't care about them and think that they are more or less just a new nuisance, right? And it feels like they just took the first opportunity they could to delete their YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Lexicito says, so you had a tantrum and destroyed something that your son had been working on for a year and had been successful at. Parents are garbage to their children's accomplishment all the time. He'll survive that, but he will be secretive about his future endeavors and accomplishments. You've weaponized that. The main problem that you now face, other than being not good at parenting, is that you don't know why or how he was skipping school, and since he no longer trusts you, you are never really going to know. Dig in for a full-scale rebellion, you might consider counseling. Unfortunately, in this case, the kid isn't skipping school. He was being bullied,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's being bullied at home.
Alright, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for inviting my son's girlfriend on my wife's birthday trip, even though my wife doesn't like her? My wife and I have two sons, a 20-year-old male, Jack, and a 16-year-old male. Jack has a girlfriend, a 22-year-old female, Emma, who could be unpleasant to be around sometimes. My sister is a teacher, and she was the teacher of Emma, and she said that she was a bully in high school. My wife said that she wasn't surprised at all. She thinks that she's condescending and always putting down Jack, alienating him from the rest of us, and always hanging out with her family instead. Emma especially doesn't like my wife and makes comments about her not acting her age. Last summer, we were abroad, and she had just met and started dating Jack when he brought her along. She made comments about my wife wearing skimpy bikinis that she would be embarrassed to do if she were her age with two sons. My wife laughed in her face and called her immature. Later that evening, Emma tearfully announced that she didn't really know if she would get along with the rest of the family, and my wife laughed again and called her speech pathetic, and that she didn't need to get along with us. Jack was angry. Since then, I've tried to talk to my wife about her attitude, but she just said that she knew a jerk when she saw one. Emma was one, and she wouldn't stop being one because she has seen in her 40-plus years Emmas everywhere, so it meant that they didn't change. About Jack, she said that she loved him and respected his choice. Now, I have booked a luxury stay for a weekend in Nice for my wife's 45th birthday for our family. Jack said that Emma wanted to come because nice. Anyways, I wanted the whole family together, so I agreed. It's in May, and I've told my wife, and she was just shocked. She didn't say anything, but she doesn't speak to me. My sister said that I was a big jerk, because no matter who is in the wrong, according to her, neither is wrong. My wife doesn't like Emma, and it's her birthday, and it should be about her being with the people that she loves. But Jack would probably have been devastated and wouldn't have come. My sister said that it was Jack's decision if he didn't want to come. I don't know.
Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, OP's being the jerk here. This trip is supposed to be celebrating his wife's birthday. Why would you invite someone who clearly has a lot of disdain for your wife? Like, it seems like this woman has gone out of her way to be mean and spiteful, making those comments about how dare a woman in her 40s with two children wear a bikini. Like, that's just such a gross thing to say. And
Yeah.
then to have this whole pity party, like the wife handled it as well as she could. She just laughed. She didn't like even shame her or something, even though it would be perfectly appropriate to be like, hey, that's totally uncalled for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the reason why she had this reaction is because maybe the wife didn't react in the way that she expected, and she's just trying to be a mean bully.
Well, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like she's a bully. She didn't get the reaction she wanted, and so she had to make like get another reaction. And again, the wife just laughed, and so she's upset because she can't get to the wife in that way.
And I think one of the concerns that OP shared is that he's afraid that if he didn't invite his son, that his son's girlfriend, that his son wouldn't come, which, I mean, that's up to him at that point in time, right?
Exactly. If the son chooses his mean girl girlfriend over his mom, he's gonna have to live with that decision. But you shouldn't invite hateful people who are like, what's she going to do on the trip? Criticize her more for having the audacity to age? And
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's going to be a risk here. And again, the wife should be able to choose to spend her birthday surrounded by the people who mean the most to her.
Mm-hmm.
And while eventually, maybe someday, this girl will be part of the family, so to speak, right? I think that it's also important that OP's wife feel safe and have be surrounded by people who she can feel comfortable with, especially on her birthday, right?
Right. Well, and like, while she handled the situation with a lot of tact, I'm sure she doesn't want to have this 20-something woman like badgering her if she dares to wear a bikini. Like if they go out somewhere sunny and she wears a bikini, or if she wears something else that's not age appropriate, which there's no such thing as age appropriate, and this young woman needs to stop trying to police, the wife's attire.
Yeah. Plus, actions have consequences, and she went out of her way to be mean and petty, and she doesn't deserve to have a nice trip to Nice.
Well, and it sounds like the entire reason, like they just want the free trip. They don't care about anything else other than, but it was a free vacation, which is another reason to not bring them.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Yachi Wannabe says, I'm going to plan this big amazing trip for my wife and then ruin it by inviting someone who insulted my wife on a past trip and someone I know my wife doesn't like. Jack's girlfriend had a chance to show everyone who she was, and now she tried to make your wife feel bad and then made a big show about her feelings when your wife rightfully called her out. Your wife sounds awesome, confident, and respectful. And set a good boundary. Apologize and cancel the trip and set something else up. And OP replies, touche. And Boring Sorbet 1024 says, you're the jerk. You invited someone who has directly insulted and disrespected your wife multiple times for absolutely no reason other than being straight up immature and a bully. Obviously, you can't control who your son dates. However, you should have a serious conversation on manners and the expectations of conduct from the people that he brings around, friends and other romantic partners. If you, as a man, allow someone into your home and into your life who treats your wife poorly, you're not much of a husband.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, My parents confessed last Christmas that my sister was the product of a mother's affair. Am I the jerk for cutting my parents out of my life? So I'll cut right to the chase. I'm a 19-year-old male, and I've always been treated as the golden child of the family. Lavish birthdays, lavish gifts, lavish everything. I liked the attention initially when I was a child, but as I grew older, I grew more and more sympathetic about how my parents treated my sister, an 18-year-old female. I never understood it. I initially thought it was because I was a boy and she was a girl, and that maybe they were just sexist. It wasn't that they treated her badly, it was just that she was a complete afterthought. And as I grew older, that hurt me a lot. I started working a part-time job at 14 and started saving up money to get her birthday gifts and other gifts. It wasn't much, but it had thought and effort, something that my parents lacked. It was pretty obvious that my parents were the biggest cause of my sister's self-esteem issues. They always talked about how smart I was and how I was destined for big things, and they bragged about it to other friends and extended family, but they hardly ever praised my sister. I was pretty fed up with all of it, and after graduating high school, I rejected an offer to go to an Ivy League because I didn't want my parents to help pay for my college education. I did get accepted into a decent university which offered me a full-ride scholarship, and I accepted that. A year later, my sister too got accepted into the same university with almost a full ride. 4 months ago, we were at our parents' house for Christmas holiday, and my parents confessed that my sister was the product of an affair that my mother had had. They straight up said that they will never love her, that she was a mistake, and that they wanted nothing to do with her anymore now that she was 18. It was shocking. My sister was obviously devastated. My sister and I immediately left the next day. Before leaving, I told my parents that they were dead to me, and that I wanted nothing to do with them anymore. I seriously hated them, and I'm not sure why my mom was even crying. Anyways, it's been 3 months, and my sister and I have both taken a break in college for the semester. My sister is still struggling extremely hard, but we've moved in together, and it's gotten better over the last couple of weeks. And she has also started therapy last week. I will never contact my parents ever again, in spite of all they've done for me. I am dead set on that, but I wonder if I was the jerk.
All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, absolutely not the jerk. Good on you, OP, for being a good brother. Your sister did absolutely nothing wrong. They are blaming like the innocent party in all of this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really awful what your parents did. You know, instead of going to therapy, working on their feelings, they took it all out on this poor young woman and are like, now we're just booting you from our lives because you're a reminder of this affair.
Okay, well, I also want to say that if they didn't feel that they could treat their child unbiasedly like this, then they needed to give their child up for adoption or something else, right?
Right. Like, they did basically the bare minimum parenting, but then they have OP, the golden child, who they did all this lavish stuff for, and, like, that's going to create psychological trauma. And honestly, I don't think they care.
No, I don't think they do care. I think that they are happy to rub her status into her face. And I think that they now have a harsh reality because OP isn't going to put up with this. He isn't going to put up with his sister being treated like a second-class citizen. And they not only lost one child, but they lost both children with this move.
And honestly, people like that they don't deserve to have children, period. If they're going to be that petty and spiteful and mean toward a girl whose only crime is her existence, which she didn't have any say in, like, they don't deserve to be parents.
No. So I think that this is tragic, but I'm really happy that OP realized young that this wasn't fair and that they've actually been trying to work hard to remedy it. And it sounds like they're getting along well, the sister and brother here, and, you know, living together and everything like that. So I think this really worked out in the best case scenario for them in general, right?
Right. It sounds like OP and the sister have a strong relationship, and that's really awesome. And I hope they're able to continue thriving and just don't worry about their awful parents.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Marv115 says, not the jerk, you are doing the right thing. They decided to blame and punish the only innocent in the situation. They're terrible. And okay, MXM says, don't punish the cheater, but punish the victim. While it's understandable for the dad, after all, it's difficult to accept the proof of cheating. At the very least, he should provide it for her until she was 18. But the mother, she's a piece of garbage. Her mistakes and choices are all her own. How dare she even dare to hate the child when she's supposed to hate herself more than anyone else? I don't know about that.
No.
I think that comment's a little off base.
I agree completely. Like, I think, first of all, if the father couldn't be a father to her, he should have ended the relationship right then and there.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have stayed with the mother.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to resent the child, it's perfectly fine to walk out of that relationship. It's not fine to, like, he doesn't get a pass because he put a roof over her head.
No, he doesn't. And again, if you don't feel like you're capable of taking care of a child fairly, equitably, and all that stuff, then probably it's better to not raise that child. I understand that this is a difficult situation, but it's a situation that, you know, the parents created. The dad created it by choosing to not divorce and not, you know, walk away from a situation. And the wife, she chose to create the situation by cheating.
And,
right?
like, I think these are always the most frustrating posts to read when, like, the parents decide to reconcile, but they take out all the animosity on the child who couldn't help being born.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can't forgive the innocent child in all of this, like, then you shouldn't be in this relationship.
Yeah.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, My Girlfriend Proposed to Me, My Reaction Made a Baby Cry. Am I the Jerk? Throwaway for no reason. I just never post on my main account. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 2 years. We both sensed that we were okay with marriage. I was thinking of proposing on our anniversary, but my girlfriend did it first. We went to the beach on a weekend, and we didn't want to swim. We just wanted to sit and chill. I'm a grown man, and I'm fully aware, but I was playing with the sand because it was fun. There was a family near us, a couple with a small baby. I've never seen a baby that small brought to the beach. The baby looked like a newborn. My girlfriend proposed, and despite knowing our stance on marriage, I was happy and excited and surprised. My answer was yes. I think that I was too loud because the baby started crying. It was so awkward. I apologized to the couple, but they were mad. They looked like new parents that didn't want their baby to cry because they didn't know how to make the baby stop. They said that I shouldn't be so loud when I know that the baby was sleeping nearby, because I'm not the first person to get married. I responded that they shouldn't have brought a baby to a place like this and get mad if the baby is woken up. Am I the jerk?
All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, it just sounds like OP was caught up in the moment, and it is a public beach, and like I understand the parents probably were stressed and frustrated, but they can't expect everyone just to be silent at a beach.
Yeah, I mean, this is a terrible expectation that they've come up with. Like, how can you expect, like, you are in a public place, you're on a public beach, you can't tell everyone to hush because you have a baby. Now, I understand being a parent to a newborn is a frustrating thing, especially one who might have trouble sleeping. But there's a lot of things to consider here with the beach, right? One, like, there's the sun exposure. If they need to absolutely make sure that their kid is covered up correctly and under a sun umbrella and stuff like that, just so that the kid doesn't get heat exhaustion and getting hydrated and everything. Like, that seems like a potentially a hazard to that newborn. Like, this sounds like a very, very young child. So that kind of concerns me.
Well, and it sounds like the parents wanted like a relaxing day out, but again, when you have an infant, like that's not a guarantee. And you know, I understand being frustrated, but to take it out on a stranger isn't, for just doing normal like activities isn't okay.
No, it really isn't. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Sindar Van says, not the jerk and congratulations. And OP replies, thanks. And Fat Penguin 26 says, the fact that your username is made a baby cry sorry tells me that this is made up. And OP replies, I didn't know what to name this account, lol. But nope, this is real. Weird, but real. And Fat Penguin 26 says, that's fair. I just think that I have trust issues because the last few days my page has been flooded with obviously fake posts. And Big Pickle 7506 says, you're not the jerk at all. Playing in the sand is fun regardless of your age. And although the parents with a baby can be tired and need some time when the baby is sleeping, you had just gotten proposed to. The baby is in public at a beach. Things happen. Congrats. And OP replies, I happen to know some gloomy people that think adults can't have fun doing things that kids enjoy. They haven't enjoyed the lively sand in decades. I don't have a baby yet, but babies cry for everything. They look like new parents though. Congrats. Thanks. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke, allegedly.
Allegedly. Jenny, they're not going to grow bananas any longer. Bill, why not? Jenny, because they're long enough already.
There you have it, folks. Jovial Bobstein. Thank you, Jovial Bobstein, for that lovely gem that I will treasure until I forget it in 30 seconds.
What I want to know is who the they is. Like, who are these people who are growing bananas and for what purpose?
The banana farmers, and they're growing them to abduct aliens.
Ah.
True story. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Tuesday, spelled T-W-O. Oh my goodness, Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it on bullying.
Don't bully people, whether they're your kids or other kids or anything. Just don't.
Yeah, don't bully people. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.